Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Weird News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Heidi, and I'm gladly joined by the wonderful Sarah.
I am glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm just assuming.
No, you're right.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm excited because the first story is about, a TV show, characters that are strangely very close to my heart.
Really?
Yeah.
Because, you're of an age where I would not necessarily associate this topic with you.
Yes, that is understandable. We were talking about the Smurfs. The reason that I really like the Smurfs is because when I was a kid, my parents would be getting ready for, Christmas dinner. And I remember, I don't know what show I watched, but they would always play the Smurfs Christmas special. Every time, I guess, on Christmas, the same time every Christmas.
I've never seen the Smurfs Christmas special. I grew up with the Smurfs.
Oh, okay.
But, I watched them on Saturday morning on our black and white TV. So they weren't blue, but whatever.
The Christmas special is the only thing I know about the Smurfs.
Huh.
I have not seen any other episodes, but I've seen it. I've seen the special multiple times.
Have you seen them? They did the live action / animated version.
I have not.
More recently. I have not seen those.
I don't like them enough to do that to myself.
You're a specific Christmas episode kind of girl.
Just this one good memory. I don't want to tarnish it. Or potentially enhance it. I'm just going to stick with it.
Yeah, no.
In general. I don't need to ruin it. Okay, the reason that I'm talking about the Smurfs is not because of the TV show necessarily. It's about a town in Germany, and they kind of had a Smurf invasion because they were trying to break a world record. The goal of the whole Smurf gathering was to break the world record for the largest group of people dressed as Smurfs.
Yeah, so they weren't real Smurfs.
They weren't.
It's not.
They were, fake.
Way too big for one thing.
Yeah, for sure. Way too big. Okay, I'm going to try and say the name of the group. The group is Da Traditionsverein.
Yeah. And is it a V or is it a W?
Oh, I don't know. There's
so
it's
two
the
dots
word above an A.
It's the weird tradition. Not the weird. This is the weird news. But the word tradition followed by swearing. Swereain.
Oh.
Yeah. Tradition swearing. I don't know.
Maybe. I'm not sure. But it's a group that I can't pronounce well. And they organized the event. And it started on Saturday, which was September 16th, near the border
February
of Switzerland.
16th.
I'm sorry.
September.
February 16th, near the border of Switzerland. They had really strict rules for this event. In order to be counted, participants couldn't show any non-blue skin, so they painted their skin. So they were blue. They just, were much bigger than normal Smurfs. And they could dress as any Smurf, like Papa Smurf, with the red cap and the white beard, Smurfette with blonde hair, white skirt, any other normal Smurfs, too. They didn't have to necessarily...
Pretty much any other Smurf, you would just look like...
Right.
The white pants, the blue chest, the white hat.
Exactly.
Unless you're Papa Smurf or Smurfette.
Right.
Or more modern versions. I think they had more other characters.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
You didn't have to be a specific Smurf character. You could be just a normal garden variety Smurf. But you couldn't be any other character. You couldn't be the evil wizard.
Gargamel.
Yes, Gargamel, or I guess his cat or whatever. You couldn't be another character. You had to be a Smurf character.
Right.
Which makes sense if you're trying to have the largest gathering of Smurfs.
Yeah.
Or people dressed as Smurfs. I wouldn't say the largest gathering of Smurfs. That's a falsity. The group posted on Facebook that 2,762 Smurfs showed up. The Record Institute for Germany verified that number on its website. They even provided a certificate for the participants, which I like to imagine means that this German institute provided a certificate for each participant.
I want to believe that too.
Yeah, which would be nice of them. It's a lot of certificates.
So did they break the record?
Apparently, the Guinness World Records has yet to confirm that they did.
Oh.
The standing record, so...
I can't believe there's already a record.
Yeah, it's happened
break.
before. It's held by a group of 2,510 people in the UK in 2009, so it sounds like they'll probably break the record. Also, this group that tried to, break the record, they had attempted before in 2016 to do the same thing. So they've been trying for a while, which is an interesting long-term goal, I would say. But that's definitely, I guess if you try to pick a world record, pick something that you're like, not that many people are going to try.
Right.
We might have a few years before it's broken. So pretty impressive.
Interesting.
Also, the Gathering is not the only Smurf theme event that the Guinness World Records is trying to keep tabs on. Apparently not. A total of, let's see, what is it, 6,320? I guess is how many, what is that, how many items they're keeping tabs on?
Oh, or, yeah. Well,
events?
Records. Let's just say records.
Sure. Records.
Since it's the Guinness Book of Records.
Yeah, that's probably what they're keeping tabs on. So the World Records is keeping tabs on other events. There was one in Ripon, Wisconsin?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that group set the record for the largest collection of Smurf-themed memorabilia in 2014.
I'm intrigued and somewhat scared to know how much memorabilia is in that collection in order to win.
Yeah. Also, there's apparently a lot of Smurf-related records and other things that are going on that I did not know of.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
I
didn't think they were still that really popular or around much.
But maybe it takes a long time, to gather the Smurf memorabilia.
Yeah, probably.
So, they've started since the show came out. Just finally been able to amass the collection, or at least in 2014 were able to make a world record amount.
Yeah.
Also, that makes me think they were competing with other people for the record.
Right.
Like the person who had that much memorabilia, there was someone else out there that also had a large amount of memorabilia.
Or did this person just have a big collection and he or she was like, you know what? I'm going to call the Guinness Book of World Records. Maybe they're the only person that's ever contacted the Guinness Book of World. I really don't know how that works.
True.
Do there have to be other collections in order to hold the record?
Oh, I guess
what
not.
are the rules?
I guess just if it's anyone could just have a record, I would imagine. You don't have to necessarily compete.
I may have to look up the rules and see what specific requirements there are.
Yeah,
for
because
Guinness.
then I guess you could just think of any off-the-wall thing and make a world record if you're the only person to do it.
I have a lot of ants in my house right now. Maybe I'm the Guinness World Record holder. I'm sure I'm not. Oh. Thank God it's not that many, but...
Oh, I'm sure there's... Oh, God. I mean, I guess if you live on top of multiple anthills, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I do feel like the area that I live in is just, built on top of antholes. I just feel like they're... Anthills, I'm sorry. There are so many ants everywhere I live.
They're everywhere.
But, there are lots of ants everywhere. Speaking of bugs, or insects, I'm sorry. I want to move on to the next weird news story. I don't know who's going to correct me. Someone will come after me. It's
probably
an insect. Speaking of that, we're going on to talk about bees. Specifically, the world's largest bee, which sounds terrifying. And I saw a picture, and it is terrifying looking.
It's big.
It's so much bigger than a normal honeybee. And it also scares me because it's like a normal honeybee when I see it. It looks kind of cute. It's got the stripes. It's, I don't know, tiny.
Right, and it's out there in the world doing good work.
Right. And then I learned about the world's largest bee, which is significantly bigger. It does not have stripes. It's all black.
Is it a honeybee or is it just a scary bee?
No, it's just a scary bee. I don't think it really stings a lot of people, but it just doesn't make honey. It just exists.
Yeah. You should get a hobby bee.
Yeah.
Maybe then we'd like you more.
Should. Yeah, like knitting or collecting Smurf things.
You could be in the Guinness Book. You probably already are in the Guinness Book. Never mind.
It probably is. You're right. World's biggest bee.
Be in there twice for your Smurf collection.
You never know. We'll have to tell it. Also, I want to mention the world's largest bee is a female bee because the females are much bigger than the male bees, which is pretty awesome. It's a queen bee. Yeah. Until recently, though, about this world's largest bee, The last time someone had reported seeing this living in the wild was 1981.
I'm assuming it's not the same bee.
No,
just
I
the
would
same
assume.
type of giant bee.
That would be really interesting. The stories that bee could tell, if it could tell stories.
Wow.
It had seen a lot. But they thought that it was extinct until recently.
Okay.
And then they saw it again in January. And this is the Wallace's giant bee. It was spotted on an island off of Indonesia, which is really... I guess it lives in remote places, so it's not easily found.
Right. So, see, you don't have to worry too much about it then.
Thankfully. I would be very scared if that just turned up in my house. Like, I don't know, living in a closet or something.
And then
or a spare bedroom.
You'd smack it with a newspaper, and then you'd be like, well, now they're extinct.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that would be sad.
That would. But I feel like a bee that size would then just smack me with a newspaper. Like, that's so large. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back, and I'll tell you how big this bee actually is.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Welcome back to the Weird News Podcast. We're continuing to talk about the world's largest bee. Again, that is specifically the Wallace's giant bee, also called Mega Chili Pluto, which does not sound like a scientific name. It just sounds like a bunch of words
sounds like
combined.
a comic book name.
It just sounds like a bunch of things scientists were like, I like all of these things.
Right, yeah.
Let's just put it together. Like, bring back Pluto. Who knows? But this bee is a lot bigger than other bees. The female size has been recorded at least 1.5 inches long, with a tongue that's nearly 1 inch long, which is terrifying.
But all the better to get that yummy... Well, except that they aren't honeybees, so
No,
well, they still
I
have to
mean-
eat, I guess.
Yeah, probably maybe they eat other plant nectar or something. I don't
Maybe.
really know. I didn't actually find what it eats. Not a lot is known about the giant bee.
Well, yeah, because if you only see them once every 30 years...
Yep. It's rather large. It's rather scary. The team that was looking for this giant bee, they found one living in a termite nest on the side of a tree, which apparently is the bee's preferred habitat. So while it's not necessarily making honey, it is living in some rather interesting places. The bees use resin and wood to create tunnels and cells in existing termite nests, but they carve out their own living space away from the termites.
Why is there only one of them, though? I mean, I tend to think of bees as sort of communal creatures. Like,
I don't
there's a
think-
hive.
True.
These don't seem to be.
No, they don't seem to be hive-like bees. There are other bees, though, that don't live in hives. Like, there's, like, a bee I can't remember the name of, but it, like, hunts spiders.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard of, and that lives sort of not with other spider
lone
hunting
bee.
bees. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lone hunter. But I don't know. I do normally think of it as a hive, but I guess these live on their own. Maybe they're just too large, They don't want to share space. But they do share space with termites, which is interesting. I don't know. Maybe they just like the noise, the company. Not sure.
Their benevolent overlord.
Yeah. That would be terrifying to be a termite and then have a giant bee living next to you. Like, I think the bee is large. Can you imagine compared to a termite?
Right. Yes, fine, move in. I don't get, just don't eat me.
Yeah, exactly. You can have whatever you want. It would be terrifying. You just hear like a slight knock on the wall, like, hey, keep it down. Oh, okay, whatever you want. Don't
Yes,
come
ma'am.
over.
Exactly.
Exactly. Whatever you say, lady. Touting the discovery of this bee, the team actually posted a video of it flying around. I guess they had it in a small enclosure so they could observe it. And I guess they just said the sound of the wings is like way deeper compared to the high-pitched buzz of a honeybee, which makes sense.
Yeah,
just
makes
larger
sense.
wings, Also, it's not unusual for the giant bee to go long periods without being seen by humans. It has been observed only a handful of times since it was discovered. It was discovered in 1850 the 1850s by a British naturalist, Alfred Russel Wallace, hence Wallace bee. And the bee was last discovered in 1981, and when it was presumed extinct. So, I don't know. It's rare. The bee isn't remarkable only for its size. It also has really unusually large mandibles. Strange
so
word.
That's just going to make you even more terrified,
I
would imagine.
So terrified. Apparently, the mandibles are large. They're often compared to a stag beetle's, which, again, is terrifying. The bee's mouth parts also include a large labrum, which is just another mouth part, which apparently is very large. I guess compared to other bees, I'm definitely a scientist. You can tell. In the early 1980s, entomologist Adam Canton Messer described watching a female Wallace's giant bee using its mandibles, which are sort of like pincer-like looking things near its mouth, which are used to chew and like grab things. And this entomologist watched the bee use its mandibles to scrape resin from a tree, and then use its labrum, which is another mouth part, and mandibles to roll the resin into a large ball, which it then carried as it flew back to its nest. Think about how large the bee has to be to carry this back to its nest. So terrifying.
Well, I mean, like ants carry things way bigger than their... So, you know, the bee doesn't necessarily have to be that huge.
I guess that's true. I guess I just imagine a really large ball of resin and a really large bee. I picture, like, in the movie Ant-Man, they, like, have the ant that they make a large size, that, like, large enough to, like, play on a drum set. I, like, imagine that. Like, when everyone's, like, large bug, I just go to, like, prehistoric bug size, and it haunts my nightmares.
It's only an inch. It's not that big. I mean, it's big, but...
That's so big. In theory, the mandibles are similar to mason bees, which use them to help form the large balls of mud and shape their nests. Also, another entomologist, Jason Gibbs, who studies bees at the University of Manitoba, says the Mangachillidae, which is the family of bees that use a variety of materials to build nests. They use leaves or flower petals, resin, mud, all of that. And the remote location is the main reason that the bee has not been seen so often. Its sheer remoteness helps protect it from anyone seeking to get into the bee poaching business and sell the rare specimen. Apparently, the bee poaching business is pretty big.
Yeah, I didn't know.
But I also read that there's a pretty large, I guess, business for insect trading, like rare bugs and things like that, which is causing some, like, you know, I don't know if I want to say extinction, probably extinction.
But issues.
But issues related to bug populations.
I feel like I'm not even surprised. I mean, of course there is.
I know. And I guess that's why they thought it could be extinct, because they hadn't seen it and because the business of selling bugs exists, you know? So I'm sure if someone was like, oh, this is like the world's largest bee, like someone want to buy it, someone who wants to keep it in a cage and watch it.
But I like that it seems like it's pretty sneaky, pretty wily, you know? It knows where to go to stay out of sight and not be seen and captured by the bee sellers.
Yeah, good for the bee. Also, along with the risks of bee poaching, the bee also faces other potential risks, like loss of habitat, which apparently is related to palm oil operations because they're cutting down a bunch of trees and I guess cutting down other trees in a forest to plant palm trees for the palm oil business.
Okay.
Which often palm oil is used in so many things. It's not always grown or harvested sustainably. So just a little tidbit in case you want to know. Despite the abundance of potential nesting sites, the bee is rare, and also females, again, as I mentioned, are far larger than males. So I am very happy to hear about that because these are all queen bees in my mind because they're so large.
Does that make them better or more terrifying for you?
Well, I'd like to think they would be a kind overlord, but also still pretty scary.
Does it help if you picture it with like a teeny tiny crown and scepter?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. But then also I just think of Queen Bee and I think of like Queen Bey, like Beyonce, and that makes it a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
Because I like to think they like listening to Beyonce. But
or singing. Yeah, they're probably having like karaoke.
With their really large mandibles. Yeah.
You just had to go there.
I just like the word. I think the word mandible is weird and kind of funny. Also, what else do they use? They probably hold a small microphone with with them.
Oh, I bet they could.
Because they don't need their arms to use that. Well, they would need to open their mouth. I don't know how it works with bees and tiny microphones, but still, that makes them a little bit less scary to me.
Okay.
Which is nice. But I'm still terrified. I don't ever want to see one or have one near me. But I would be interested in seeing the video, especially for the sound of the wings of the bee, and compared to, like, the high-pitched buzz of a honeybee. And I do generally like bees, so I think it's important. Although I'm not sure this bee is a pollinator, since it's, like, taking resin and wood.
Yeah.
And, like, a termite's nest, I don't think that necessarily means it's a pollinator. But I think it could be, like other insects, you know?
I mean, it's got that ginormous tongue. You'd think it'd be flopping around flowers somewhere, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Also, it is kind of rare, so I don't think we know everything about it. So it could, for all we know, be a pollinator. It's just that, it could be a pollinator. It's just that we don't have a bunch of research about it.
It's a bee with secrets.
Yeah. Has secret labs with all the termites. We don't really know. And I think it's interesting that the scientists found the bee. Sounds like they've been hunting for it for a while and are not going to take it and put it in a zoo, which I'm happy about.
Yeah.
I like to think they'll let it live its life. So before we go on to our next story, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back to the Weird News Podcast. We are continuing to talk about some strange news stories. After the bee, I want to talk about another strange creature. But, of course, this strange creature is a human.
Oh,
just
we
a
are
human.
pretty strange sometimes.
Yeah, we are. Particularly this person. This is a man who was wearing a gorilla suit, or I believe it is, a gorilla suit. That's worse. I thought it was a mask, but it's a full suit. And this person broke into a home and then hid under someone's bed.
What?
Yep, that's terrifying.
Why?
I don't know. Police say that the man wearing the gorilla suit broke into a Louisiana home and hid under a mattress before the police arrested him. Clearly that was not well thought out.
Okay. I could... No, I have nothing. I mean, okay, so was he breaking in to, like, scare the homeowners? That would sort of kind of make sense, although weird. But it doesn't sound like that's what he was doing.
It sounds like he was kind of on the run in the neighborhood, and he just
like
had
you
to
are,
hide.
because you're so inconspicuous in your gorilla suit.
Right, like you are when you wear a gorilla suit.
And in Louisiana, which is not the coolest of places.
I know. I feel like, ew, humidity in a gorilla suit? I hope you didn't rent it.
It's a stinky gorilla suit.
Yeah, not good. Police department spokesman Mel Estes reported that officers saw Jeremy Moran. Oh, that's an unfortunate name for the situation. It could be Moran. Jeremy Moran.
Moran or yeah.
Yeah, well, it was sort of a Moran-ish move. He was walking through yards in the costume, and police had received calls about a suspicious person looking into homes, so I think they connected the dots. Also, the police spokesman said that Moran ran into a house as officers approached, but he was then discovered hiding. He was jailed on charges including resisting an officer, unauthorized entry, meth possession, and wearing a mask.
Oh, meth possession.
Yeah, so that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, but could you imagine just being home one day, hanging out, and something catches, you see something out of the corner of your eye, you turn to look, and it's a gorilla face.
That would be terrifying.
Obviously not a real one, obviously a mask, but still, you might not notice that at first. But
I think
either way is terrifying.
I think I'm more scared. I would be more scared of someone in a gorilla suit than a real gorilla.
Right.
Because that's like, you're really off. The gorilla's probably just like, well, I feel kind of bad for you. But a person in a gorilla suit in my house is terrifying.
I'd be very confused as to where the gorilla came from.
True.
But the person in the gorilla suit, I'd be like, okay, what's going on in your brain right now?
Or what's going on in your system, like meth.
Yeah.
Well, I guess at least for meth possession, not necessarily.
Right.
We don't know for sure that he was on meth, but he had it on his person. In his suit, he had the meth. Apparently, though, in Louisiana, a person convicted of wearing a mask in public can be sentenced to 3 years in prison at most. So I did look it up, and there are laws against wearing masks. I think, there are other, like Halloween or things like that. It's okay. But there are different states and different cities have different laws regarding mask wearing.
So only 3 years. So he can only be 3 years at most, right? Okay, so.
I mean, I guess at least for the mask wearing
part. Right.
Yeah.
I would assume you'd get charged for
the
other things.
Yeah. Also, if for the mask-related thing, exceptions are allowed for religious purposes or on holidays like Halloween and Mardi Gras, which...
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah, that would make sense. People wear masks at Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
And it's unclear if Moran had a lawyer who could comment on the situation. I hope he had a lawyer because that's not looking good. You're going to go to jail for at least, well, I don't know, 3 years at most for the mask. Good luck with that. I don't know where he got the suit.
Yeah.
But not a good look. Not sneaky.
No, it's not stealthy at all.
No. I want to talk about another strange incident involving being on the run. But this is not a person in a suit. This is actually a pot-bellied pig.
Aww.
Which is pretty cute. We have talked on the podcast before about luring pigs with snacks. So I was pretty excited to find another story about this. So I'm excited to share.
I love that you're just excited about that. I mean,
it is. It's really cute.
Yeah.
The last time it was a pig who was lured home with Doritos.
Oh.
This is actually about a pig that was lured home with Oreos.
And I would be more likely to be lured with Oreos.
Oh,
I mean,
both.
I have nothing against Doritos. I like Doritos, but if you're going to lure me with Oreos.
I don't have to toss up for me. Depends if I'm in for salty or sweet.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. If I had like a big dinner beforehand, then I want the Oreos. But, this cookie-loving pot-bellied pig came back home. She briefly escaped, but then was thwarted when she was lured home with a pack of not just Oreos, but specifically Most Stuff Oreos.
Are those bigger than Double Stuff?
Oh, yes.
Wow. I mean, I know there's millions of flavors of Oreos, but I don't think I've ever partaken of Most Stuff Oreos.
I have recently had the Most Stuff Oreos, and it's like at least 2.5 Oreos worth of stuffing in one Oreo.
That's a lot of cream.
I would say I can really only eat one in a sitting because... I mean, one, the guilt really gets at me, and I can't do it. And then, two, it's just so much.
Yeah.
It's hard to get through. You can't eat it in one bite, for sure. At least not for me. The pig probably can.
Probably.
So this happened in Ohio, and the police posted on Facebook about the pig that was caught meandering down the street. Law enforcement identified the pig initially as a he, but the animal's owner, whose name is Yvette Hoffman, revealed in comments on Facebook that the pig is actually a female.
Oh, silly police, misidentifying.
Yeah. Also, the pig's name is Charlotte.
Aw.
That's cute. And her owner, Yvette, noted on Facebook that Charlotte was excited to meet her new fans.
Charlotte, what are you doing escaping in the middle of winter? Stay home where it's warm.
Maybe she just wanted some Oreos.
Maybe.
Just thought they would know.
She heard about the Doritos pig and was like,
Oreos.
I wonder if I left, if they would...
Give me some Oreos or at least some Doritos.
Maybe she left a ransom note. Not a ransom note, but like I'm running away, but I will come back for Oreos.
A slight threat.
Yeah.
Dispatchers had received calls about the pig on the run. And then Yvette Hoffman, the pig's owner, said on Facebook that a passerby had apparently let Charlotte out of her yard, which is not good.
No.
But she told local news stations that the pig is very sociable and was likely just looking for friends.
She was probably like, psst, hey, open that gate.
The one right there. Pull the lever. Do you have any Oreos?
You have opposable thumbs. You can do it.
Cops, to get the pig back, made a barrier with police cars to prevent her from getting any farther. And then, I guess initially stories credited police with deploying the Oreos. But apparently, it was actually her owner who showed up at the scene and then brought the Oreos, which of course the pig could not refuse.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, if you know what the pig likes, you're going to go for it.
Exactly.
According to the police spokesperson, the owner fed Charlotte some Oreos and then put a leash on her and took her home.
Aw.
Which is pretty cute.
And apparently they've been for walks before if she had a leash.
Yeah, I guess so.
That would fit a pig.
She had a pig leash. The owner, Yvette Hoffman, also specified that she used the most stuffed Oreos because they are Charlotte's favorite, and the pig ate almost the entire pack.
Oh, jeez.
Again, I can only eat like one.
It's good to be a pig.
Yeah. You don't really worry about your size.
No.
In Facebook comments on the police department's post, Hoffman also shared some of the details about Charlotte's life, noting that the pig lives inside but goes out occasionally to do her business and eat grass and dig a few holes here and there. She said that anyone who is following the story, she wanted to remind them that pets are for life. So I guess she takes very good care of Charlotte and plans to keep her forever.
Aww.
And keep her in the house and feed her most stuffed Oreos.
Lucky Charlotte.
I know. I want to be any of these pigs, either getting Oreos or Doritos. I'd be happy with all of that. If someone wants to lure me home with Oreos or Doritos, I'll take it.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to see where you're going to end up if somebody lures you home with Oreos. This could be bad. Bad.
Into their van without any windows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No.
I feel like I'm just advertising how easily I could be kidnapped with snacks.
Let's talk off air.
If it's that easy to get me with snacks, true. I mean, if someone wants to make friends, you could offer me some snacks. I'd be down.
I don't know that I'm letting you leave the studio tonight. You're going to have to stay here because you're
have snacks?
You're
I'll
too
stay.
vulnerable out there.
I know, the large bees, people with snacks, anything could take me down. Better watch my back now.
That's right.
Who knows? There could be a pig with Oreos luring me back. Who knows?
I like it. It sounds like a really silly cartoon.
Yeah, Charlotte and I could be friends.
Yeah.
Hang out and eat some Oreos. I only need one. She can have the rest.
Exactly. See, she'd love you.
Minimal sharing.
That's right.
And with that heartwarming story, we are at the end of our show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please listen to the next Weird News podcast.